Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally at the end of the road. We are now at the final regular season round of the NRL for the 2022 season, meaning that this is going to be the last of the round predictions and tips for the 2022 season. Obviously, there's going to be finals tips, don't worry, but basically, the last where 8 games will be played on a weekend. So, for some teams, it decides whether they play finals or not, and some depending on will they have a second chance in the finals if they do lose their first match. There's a lot on the line, so let's just get into it. So the Thursday match, the final Thursday match this season, well, probably not in terms of the regular season, maybe they might have one in for the first week of the finals, who knows. And it is a very important match, as this will decide which will be the last team to cement themselves into the top 4 and see them play in qualifying final. It is the Parramatta Eels taking on the Melbourne Storm. Now, this game is important. So basically, whoever wins this game finishes 4th place, and they will play Penrith in the qualifying final. Parramatta over recent weeks have actually been pretty decent, to say the least. They bollocked Brisbane 53-6. The Storm have been a bit shaky, to say the least. They did lose last week to the Roosters. It is going to be a very interesting game, but the fact of it being in Parramatta, and this pretty much being the be-all decision maker in terms of if Parramatta are going to be genuine title contenders this year, I'm going to see that Parramatta Eels will take out this win and will go into the top 4, fully locking it off, and they will play Penrith in the first round of the finals. Now we go to the first Friday game, and it is a game that pretty much means nothing. Basically, it is the Canterbury Bulldogs up against the Manly Seagulls, both teams out of the finals. It's weird to say, Manly, ever since that whole jersey debacle, of basically the wheels have fallen off. I mean, technically their season has fallen off the wheels since Turbo got injured. The Bulldogs, they were against Cronulla, they got held scoreless. It's a very hard game to tell. Both teams very similar. I'll actually tip the Bulldogs to win. I don't know. Adokar. Actually, I don't know. Adokar did get punched in the jaw by Hasbulla, so who knows? But I'll stick with the Bulldogs for taking the win there. And now we go to the other game on the Friday night, which is basically somewhat the most important match in terms of historical significance. It is the Sydney Roosters up against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The rivalry that was born along with the creation of the NRL. I mean, well, technically the New South Wales Rugby Football League, if you want to be properly pedantic about it. But basically, this is big deal. Also, the reopening of Allianz Stadium, $800 million, and they built basically the same stadium. They just made it look. They just, I don't know, painted the seats or whatever. But also, interestingly enough, with this match, potentially, these two teams will probably play each other in the elimination final. Yeah, so they'll play 2 weeks in a row, potentially. Obviously, resulting in, basically, if Parramatta do beat Melbourne, then these two teams, regardless of what happens, will play each other. So pretty much, it'll basically turn into whoever wins gets home field advantage. But it's in Sydney. So there isn't much home field advantage. Like, I don't know, it's weird. The Sydney Roosters did get a decent win last week as they beat Melbourne in Melbourne. Very crucial for their season. And South Sydney did get into a really good win last week as they beat the Cowboys. So both teams looking really good coming into this game. It's hard. I'm gonna edge it to the Roosters, meaning that we'll be basically at the same stadium next week, but in the elimination final, which should be interesting to note. Now we go to the Saturday, and we have the New Zealand Warriors up against the Gold Coast Titans. The Titans have officially avoided the spoon. It is now pretty much the property of the West Tigers. The only way that can really happen is if the Titans get belted by the Warriors by 40, and if Canberra lose to the Tigers by 40 as well. So, basically, it's for and against at this point. But, I mean, the Warriors have been a bit lackluster, to say the least coming into their final bits of the season. I mean, they played Penrith, and I mean, we all know what was going to happen there. The Titans did get a win against the Knights because fucking we're so good. Oh, I love supporting the Knights. I really do. I'm in absolute agony. I want someone to take me out. But anyways, this match is going to be pretty weird. It's like, yes, the Titans have got the better form, but it's in New Zealand, so it's right down the middle. Hard to tell. I'll go for the Warriors to win this game. You know, send the Warriors fans home happy for the end of the season. I don't know. This game's really hard to tell. Now we go to the next game on the Saturday, and this is actually a pretty big deal for one of these teams because you can decide whether or not they play finals football, and it is the St. George Illawarra Dragons who take on the Brisbane Broncos. Now, everyone thought, myself included pretty much, that the Broncos finals run was pretty much safe and locked in, but yeah, something happened, and now they've conceded 50 points in back-to-back matches, and now Canberra have overtaken them, and basically it's a must-win game now for Brisbane to try to stay in the finals. And with all of this not being in their hands, because obviously Canberra only really need to match whatever Brisbane do. So if Brisbane lose, Canberra are pretty much in by default. So this is a huge game for Brisbane. It's a bit of a lull because of how good they have been. So last week, if we go into both teams here, Broncos lost 53-6 to Parramatta. And going into the Dragons, it was a very close, very controversial, and it wasn't controversial, but very close game. The Dragons were trying to lose that game for some reason. They had two players sin-binned, but the Tigers just couldn't get anything done, and the Dragons were able to mount a late comeback to secure a close win. So I'm going to say the Dragons should be able to win this game. The Broncos will not make the finals. Yeah, so it's pretty much Canberra makes it in by default, and that will set the top 8. And now we go into the final game on the Saturday, and it is the North Queensland Cowboys hosting the Penrith Panthers, third versus first. I'd like to have seen if the Cowboys won their last couple of games and Penrith lost their last couple of games, where this could have been the match that decided the minor premiership, but obviously that didn't happen. Penrith getting the win over Souths claimed the minor premiership for themselves. So pretty much this match could be potentially seeing of maybe a future, I don't know, maybe a prelim final to say the least, or maybe grand final if things line up. But by the way things are going, it's the Cowboys who are actually very heavy favourites, which do we really want to say we don't want to put faith in Penrith? Like, you don't count out Penrith. It's a bit weird, so I don't, unless players are out, but I mean, I guess I'll go the Cowboys. I don't know. I'm trying to actually warrant why their Panthers have like almost $4 to win. Unless I haven't heard something. I'll probably have a thing at the bottom here saying if something has occurred in terms of like plays being out and stuff like that. But yeah. Now we go into the Sunday games. In the first one at 2 p.m, it is the Newcastle Knights against the Cronulla Sharks. The last time we played them on the final game of the season was the year the Sharks won, and we lost 60-0. And I think the exact same thing's going to happen. It's just the Knights are an absolute state, and hopefully that will result in Adam O'Brien being released as coach, and basically just blowing up the whole staff thing and just trying from scratch. You know, that's the thing the Knights need. We just need another rebuild, basically. Now we go into the final match, the final regular season match of the 2022 season, and it is the West Tigers against the Raiders. So pretty much it is the team that has got the wooden spoon against the team that is trying to vie for the finals. Canberra did get their win last week. They belted Manly. The Tigers played actually pretty decently against the Dragons, but some late minute chicanery and Tigers just not really putting away their chances let the Dragons win, basically confirming the wooden spoon for them. Basically, like I've already said from my predictions, if they were to go to plan, the Raiders would have automatically been allocated the finals, but I feel like this is just going to confirm it anyway. It's basically put the proper nail in the coffin. The Canberra Raiders should very easily beat the West Tigers, though it is at like something probably plus 20, something like that for the Raiders. Big win to cement them into the top 8, and that is it. That is all of the regular season tips for the NRL in 2022. Who do you guys have in the final round of the season? Do you guys differ in terms of the Broncos Raiders situation? Who do you guys think will make it into the top 4, Parramatta or Melbourne? And who wins this legendary clash that is going to be set up between the Roosters and the Rabbitohs? So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all into the finals.